welcome to Florida Focus, a college football podcast. My name's Brandon. I'm a lifetime Seminole fan. I'm smiling.
And I am Chris, and I am a perplexed Gator fan.
Threw me off. I like that one.
Yep.
We are putting aside our differences as rivals to bring you the fantastic world of college football throughout the Sunshine State. And, man, what a doozy of a weekend, Chris.
Goodness.
It started weird. It ended even weirder. But we're going to recap everything that kind of went down. Miami lost. We'll touch on that. Florida State gets their third win of the season. But top of the show, as always, Chris, the Florida Gators lose at home to LSU. So I'm just going to let you spew and take it away. What exactly happened?
Yeah, well, before we get going, I know most of the podcast, the episodes in the past 3 years now we've done this. The Florida Gators have been rolling. Florida State's kind of been reeling a little bit. So majority, I will say, or a lot of the episodes, it's me talking about a win and you talking about maybe not a win. But this is your weekend. This is your episode. This is your week. Everything is just rolling for the Florida State fans. So kudos, congratulations to y'all. We've had our fair share, but I don't like it, but I'm happy for you. But
Thanks.
As far as this game goes, wow, just wow. I'm still scratching my head going, what did I just witness? What did I watch? What was that? And this game was so strange and random, yet it mirrors a lot of other games. And I'm going to be dropping movie quotes as we go through this, so maybe at the end you can tally up and catch them all. But so it mirrored the UCF, was it Tulsa game earlier this year?
That is so crazy. That's exactly what I was thinking, too.
Just the weirdness as you're watching the game, you're like, why not? That makes sense. It mirrors, there's a play at the end of the game, which we'll talk about, the infamous shoe incident. It mirrors a Florida loss to Tennessee in 2004, I believe, which we could talk about later. But, I mean, there were so many strange things that happened in this game that didn't happen throughout the whole year. And I'm going to say, if you're just a regular college football fan, this is a fun game to watch. I hated the result, but I have to admit, just stepping back, very entertaining game. I mean, there's so many things that don't normally happen that happen. Well, one, you have the storyline of LSU freshman quarterback. They are depleted. They are just not they're a shell of the championship team they were last year.
Yeah.
And we should have beat them. We should have killed them. I mean, I know that the spread was 20-something, and we thought that maybe that was a little bit much, judging by how Florida was playing recently. But we thought we should have easily won the game. So the first thing that happens that's just weird is Kyle Pitts doesn't play. And okay, we didn't see that coming, but we thought he was back. But okay, we should be okay without Pitts. We got so many other weapons, Heisman candidate at quarterback. We should be fine, right? I mean, then we don't convert on that 4th and goal, but you're like, all right, they're on the one, freshman quarterback. We're still fine, right? And then Kyle Trask throws a pick six. That's kind of odd.
Yeah.
But we're still good. Then Kyle Trask runs a touchdown. That's kind of odd, but okay. But here's where I was like, I got that gut feeling, Brandon. This is where I got the gut feeling. Something's wrong. Because in the previous 3 games, we were playing against inferior opponents, but they were outplaying us the first half. But then you kind of turn the corner, right? We knew that was going to happen. So I was expecting it to happen at some point in this game. But this is when I was like, we might lose this game. Kyle Trask throws his second interception. And if 2020 was an interception, it's this interception, where he throws it off Tony's hands on the sideline, bounces off a defender's helmet, it was out of the field of play, bounces off the defender's helmet into the field of play, where there's another defender who's on the ground just chilling, realizes has the mindset to get back inbounds, catch. Oh, it's just so weird.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, that is too strange. They are getting everything. They're getting every bounce that there is And I'm like, this is crazy. Am I taking crazy pills? What am I watching? And then you have the second half. Then the fog rolls in. Okay, the fog. Really? Like fog just rolls in to where you can't. They have to change the camera angles in the game. Something I've never seen before. I'm like, okay, and I thought it was like, this is strange. And so the camera angles, you can't see the first down, you can't see what's going on. But then we take the lead. We turn that corner, right? Like, the game's over. And I relax. And then we let them back in. They hit a 57-yard field goal in the fog, right? On the road. I'm like, that is just crazy. But hey, we got Kyle Trask, we got Kadarius Toney playing the game of his life, and we have to get we're on our own one, and call 3 crazy plays and don't get nothing. But it's okay though, because the end of the game, we stop them on third down. We're gonna get decent field position, plenty of time left for Kyle Trask and Evan McPherson, our solid kicker, to kick the game-winning field goal. And then Marco Wilson makes a play that will live in infamy.
Yep.
Who throws a shoe? Honestly. I mean, out of all if you had given me a list of ways we were going to lose this game, and one of the options was Marco Wilson throws a shoe to get us a penalty, I would have been like, no, I'm not picking that one. But sure enough, this happened to, I think, before their 57-yard field goal. Maybe, I don't know, I'm getting my, anyways. But, man. And then Evan McPherson, at the end of the game, chance to tie it up. He misses. We said this earlier in the year, he's been missing some. But they weren't, meaningful kicks. He missed this one. So I was like, this figures. And it was a close one, too. So it was a wild, wild, wild game. We'll talk about some good things that happened, and then we'll dive deep into some of those plays. But that was I'm still, days later, I'm like, what was that? What was that game? It was a fun game. I'm not going to lie. I don't like at all the results, but it definitely was an entertaining game.
It certainly was. And just to add on to some of the craziness, the field goal that Florida gives up, I turned the ball over right before halftime. You mentioned the no points on a 74-yard drive to start the game. 3 turnovers by Kyle Trask. 2 rushing touchdowns, but negative 20 yards rushing on the day. Just some really funky things. Out of context, these stats are this has got to be made up.
Yeah. And our running, I think we ran for over 100 yards. Malik Davis was looking pretty good. There's a lot of good stuff going for us, but just it was so. I mean, it's one of those things. After that interception, that crazy interception, I was like, I don't think we're meant to win this game. We're just not. But I mean, the good things. Kyle Trask, despite the 3 turnovers, he ran for 2, threw for 2. Threw for 474 yards, right? We, as a team, ran for 135 yards. Malik Davis ran for 81, which is, I think, the most by a running back all year. I think. I could be wrong, but
sounds right.
It's up there. Kadarius Toney has one of his best receiving games. 9 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. You can see at the end of the game that he wanted to win. He was really fighting for it. Ventrell Miller, 16 tackles. Diabate, our linebackers, 11 tackles. So, if you just looked at the stats, you're like, oh, Florida won the game, right? If you just look at the stats, it's the stats that we want. It's the stats that we're complaining about. Hey, Trask throws over 400 yards. We rush for 100. We should win this game. But it was just such a strange game. Yep. I mean, a lot of good stuff happened. I mean, Jacob Copeland, you see here, he's turning out to be a solid receiver. Grimes had a decent game. but it just wasn't in the cards, man. It wasn't in the cards.
Yep. I mean, that the shoe with Wilson, obviously people are funny making memes of it instantly, but that was only one of 4 Gator penalties the entire night.
Yeah, I know.
That's very disciplined football outside of that. Really.
Right, yeah. And I think what it was, and to be honest, like, I think the memes actually helped me get through this, through the pain. Because, in the past, I wouldn't have gone on the internet at all. I wouldn't even, watch another football game, whatever. But I'm learning to just laugh at it, because you can't help but laugh. Like, it's just hilarious. I think some of the memes that have come up are pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Because it's just an odd, like, thing. And you said discipline. Going back to 2004 game against Tennessee at Tennessee, very similar situation where, hey, we're about to go down and score. We had a decent kicker, and then Dallas Baker, our receiver, who turns out to be pretty decent the next year, gets a penalty where a guy slaps him and he slaps the guy back, but the ref didn't see the first slap, saw the second slap. And I think we missed that field goal. Very, very, very similar situation. And I think, Marco Wilson's had a rough year. A lot of people are putting the blame on him for that A&M loss. And he's just had such a rough year. And I think he was in on the play on that third down play. And I think he was just that whole year of frustration. He just had a momentary lapse of reason.
Yeah. And
threw the shoe. And you just can't do that. You can't do that. And one thing that bugs me, and bugs a lot of Gator fans, are upset that Dan Mullen really hasn't owned up to it. Like, he was like, well, first initial press conference right after the game, he was like, I didn't see it, so, I didn't see the play. I'm like, okay, well, the ref did. Everyone saw it, but okay. But then the next conference, he was like, he made a football move, and, I don't think he meant to throw the shoe. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Just say that was wrong. Okay, I know you want to protect the kid. I get that. But just say it was it was a mistake. Just say it was a mistake. That's all you got to do. But this is something that Dan Mullen does sometimes. If you call him out on something, he, at least at first, will give you some pushback, or he'll deny it, So that's a little frustrating to see him kind of like, no, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm like, come on, dude. Even if you watch the replay, after the second it let go, it leaves his hand. Diabate, the other linebacker, he's coming up and kind of like, no, what are you doing? Like, don't do that. So like, he saw what went on. So that's kind of a frustrating thing there. Things that outside of Shoegate, things that need to be cleaned up. The defense. There's the secondary and specifically the safety play is just, it's sad at times. Sean Davis again wasn't playing. I think he's the only reliable safety that we have. We rotate like 4 safeties, and he's the only reliable one I trust back there. He wasn't in there, and it hurt us. And we really couldn't get to Johnson consistently. We couldn't force any turnovers. We gave up 3. I don't think we forced any turnovers. But I think it's a combination of our defense and offense just letting us down. And I don't think we took LSU seriously. You kind of saw it happen last few games. We're kind of taking steps back. And I think the first game I was in denial, but after the Tennessee game I was really worried. But I don't know. They didn't want it. LSU did won it, and they won. They deserve it.
Yeah. So a couple of quick thoughts. I've seen some things Dan Mullen does with press conferences. He throws a lot of red herrings out. Like after the A&M loss, he's like, we want to pack out the Swamp. And then after this loss, he's like,
Yeah.
well, they're actually like, we shouldn't have played so many games. They were apparently rewarding teams for playing a 6 or 8 game schedule. So he's trying to detract from things and, do what you got to do. Doesn't bother me. I don't know if this is I think quick correction for you. On the 0-4 Tennessee game you were talking about, the Dallas Baker penalty, I'm pretty sure Florida was going to either drive down to run the clock out or score. They were up by 1, but they said they had to punt because of that penalty. And the Tennessee drive down.
And they made it.
Will Hoyt. I'll never forget that name.
Yeah.
Makes the kick to win it for Tennessee. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, only one of 2 victories for them in 20 years, so they got to hang on to whatever they can. Yeah.
In this again, another game that it mirrors is the 0-1 Tennessee game, where it got pushed back because of 9/11, and the team that Tennessee was beginning of the year was not the team that they were at the end of the year. I didn't realize they were like a top 5 team at the end of the year, but they weren't that good at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
The team that LSU was Saturday, they were a lot better than they had been playing all year.
Sure.
I think most of it really is us and the way we played. It's on us. But such a strange game, and I'm still scratching my head, and I'm laughing to hold back the tears. It's just, I don't know. It's all you can do at this point, Mike, is laugh at it. It's so ridiculous.
I tend to agree, actually, what you said last week, which is they were half staff looking to Bama, half staff looking at this one, and hey, the way that LSU's played, that's the way I would have approached it. And in fact, Florida still scored 34 points, pretty much controlled the game outside of the turnovers. So, like, Florida really just plays one drive better, they win this game.
Right.
And so I don't behoove them for trying to make it into a semi-bye. This is the danger of that, of course. But you said it with the defense. I mean, something I just ran and looked up. I was like, Florida gave up over 300 yards of offense to Vandy. That's the same Vandy team who couldn't even muster 100 yards against Missouri, and the debut of Sarah Fuller, their new kicker, only got one chance to even touch the ball, and it was a second half kickoff. Vandy was so bad that game they never got in field goal range or scored a touchdown for an extra point attempt.
Yeah.
So I mean, you just see some things like that, and we've talked about it a lot over last month. That Florida's defense has been in some trouble. But the month before that, they looked like they improved after the A&M game, so we kind of just shrugged it off.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think the offense was clicking and doing so well that it overshadowed how bad the defense. We knew the defense was bad, but it didn't really matter because our offense was good. Our offense, you saw, we've been talking about it. They've been taking steps backwards. And when your offense isn't playing to the level that they can and this defense is that bad, you're going to lose. And it was just a perfect combination. And our offense, I mean, we've been, for the most part, pretty good about not turning the ball over. And if we do, it's like 1 a game. You can't turn it over 3 with our defense. You can't turn it over like that. You can't give them direct points throwing a pick 6.
Yeah.
Like, the defense needs all the help they can get. You can't put them in harder spots. I think everybody picked Florida to win. And I think Florida even picked themselves to win before the game even started. And you can't do that. I mean, I get it. They were an awful team, but you just can't roll into every game with your C game, your B game. You can't do that. Sometimes you need to roll in your A game against inferior opponents. That's kind of what Alabama does. I know I draw comparisons to them all the time, but they're the standard, and they're the next step, right?
I mean, with Alabama, if they hadn't brought their A game against Ole Miss, they'd have lost. They had to score over 60 just to hang on there. So, I mean, it's true for everybody, even the best ones.
Yeah. So, hopefully we can learn from it. And, it stinks that the seniors go out with a loss, a devastating loss. It stinks that, unless some Kyle Trask just goes off, our team goes off in the SEC championship game, that's probably his Heisman hopes are gone. He might make the top 3, but there's still a chance. There's still a chance. Really, there's even everyone's like, "Oh, they only slipped to 7 in the BCS, and they got to beat Bama, and they can get in the playoffs." Well, come on, just stop. I think all the hopes and stuff are gone. It's very deflating. I hope that it's not a sign of things to come. I think I hope it's just a fluke. But yeah, it was a really, really, really bad loss. And someone said like maybe it's the worst loss of Mullen. I don't know if this loss that Kentucky won a couple years ago or Missouri. This one might be the worst. Just how. I mean, they barely had enough people to play against us.
Yeah.
They were losing linemen left and right. They had so many. They were just playing freshmen and sophomores against us. And for us to just overlook them like that and let them outplay us, it's inexcusable, and that's all in the coaching.
I was actually going to agree and say that out of the 3 years Mullen's been at Florida, this is really only one that you're like, this shouldn't have happened. Everything else was, I mean, even the Kentucky loss, they were still pretty good that year, and that was really early on too. So,
yeah, this is. But hey, I mean, it makes sense. This year is as crazy as it is. Why not? Why not?
Why not? Yep.
But that's it for me. I'm done ranting.
You're done. Okay. I didn't have any other thoughts.
Let me get past the grieving process.
All right. Cool. I feel like we did just some justice there. So,
yeah.
No more thoughts from me either. Speaking of teams that turn over the ball and you just can't give a leg up to the opposition, Duke comes into the Florida State game leading the nation in turnovers. I didn't realize how bad exactly it was.
Wow.
Entering the game, I think they had turned the ball over 37 times. Well, plus 4 on that because they gave it up to Florida State 4 times, and the Noles win 56-35. I'm going to have very little negatives here, but I'll just go and get them out of the way. I'm going to break my little. I'm going to go OPO this time.
Okay.
Opportunities, positives, observations, and because the negatives are a very short list. We missed a field goal. We turned it over twice. The second quarter, we didn't look so great. We had 2 turnovers. So we went up 28-0. I mean, jumped up on Duke hard.
Yeah.
Then the second quarter didn't look so great because I ran the numbers. Remember the week before we played Duke, Duke played Miami, and they gave up 48 points and got shut out. So they come into this game, and they gave up 28 points right off the bat. So Duke had been outscored 76-0.
Oh, my.
And then you just saw Cutcliffe on the sideline just go off. I was like, okay, they're about to do something good. So they drove down and scored in 4 plays. Okay, well, then that's over. Well, then we helped them out. We threw an interception. I don't know why Jordan Travis insists on doing that on first downs. It's weird. So then they score off of that. Then we lose a fumble. And they score on one play, like 70-yard rush. So it's like 28-21, just at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But it really, that was the only spark Duke had the entire night.
Yeah.
FSU didn't really, I only punted 3 times. I think late in the game, we failed on a 4-point, 4th down conversion, whatever. That's it. I mean, Knowles looked pretty good. So the positives, I mean, my goodness, how can you complain about an offensive production like this? Mm-hmm. We actually passed for 198 yards, and all of this just keeps coming out of we can rush the ball. Chris, FSU is so low on wide receivers. When Ontario Wilson went down with an injury in the first half, we were down to one scholarship wide receiver on the roster.
Wow.
That's it, man. So when you look at the offensive production, it's all coming out of the backfield. Ja'Kai Douglas is not even a full-time wide receiver. He's a split. He's a wide receiver and running back. Philly's a running back. Corbin's a running back. McDonald's a tight end. Potier, who is an actual wide receiver, 1 catch, 8 yards. Ontario Wilson, 2 catches, 50 yards before his injury. Every other pass was caught by a running back or tight end.
Man.
So expect that next week. Florida State's all their production has to be out of the backfield. We have no one left.
Right. And even because Webb just left too, right?
Webb transferred back to Troy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, they're even down
a running back there.
And they're still produced 324 yards rushing.
Beautiful.
You said Duke was bad at stopping the run. You were right.
I didn't think it'd be that bad. Their front 7 just couldn't do it. What stinks about it is Duke is actually pretty good on edge rushing. That is their strength of their defense. Is stopping the pass. Well, Florida State don't need to do that. If they're going to do anything, they're going to run. And I think one of those long touchdown passes came because just everyone bid on the fake, because we had run it 17 times in a row.
Right.
So that's just going to happen. I guess the one thing I would say as an opportunity is we should have known that Duke can bust really long runs, which is what they did, but it didn't end up really mattering. It was a good day.
Yeah, 50. We were like, 20 is the ceiling. 24 is the ceiling. I think we both picked Florida State to score 24 points. Yep. And yeah, they scored that and more. 28 in the first quarter. I think that was like the most in, I saw the stat, like all year or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most points in a quarter. And then Duke did, and they scored 21 straight. And I was like, is Florida State going to pull another Florida State? Will they get a huge lead and blow it? But correct me if I'm wrong, I think Duke almost had a chance to put up points right before the half, but couldn't.
Yeah. So I'll talk about the inflection point. You were talking about that LSU pick that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, that's when the game changed tides. Yeah, so Duke is down 7 in the second quarter. They're driving down right before half. And they actually get to like the 18-yard line. So they're in the red zone. They then proceed to have 3 consecutive holding calls to make it first and 40.
I knew something. Yeah,
and then a really weird coaching move. They don't even throw a Hail Mary before halftime, and they just take a knee. And then unfortunately, you never want to see a guy hurt, but Bryce, their quarterback, on the third play out of halftime, we hit him hard. He loses a fumble. He never re-enters the game. So we then scored 3 more touchdowns before they got on the board again.
Right.
So it was like 49-28. It was over.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had one more later, and but honestly, like a Duke scored 35, which as a defense that's somewhat concerning. But one of them was a very long run, which accounted for almost half of their rushing yards, and then 2 of them came off of trick plays.
Okay.
So I think they overall did a decent job on defense. I mean, 3 interceptions, including Hamza Nasruddin, my guy, coming back and getting a pick, and Travis J making the best play of the Noles the entire season, reading the zone and making a one-hand interception. It was almost like an OBJ catch. He almost caught it with 3 or 4 fingers. It was insane.
Yeah, it was a great day for them, and that was the same thing I was going to say right before the half when Duke did not convert, and I was like, "Are you serious? They got another penalty?" I was like, "Okay, that was their chance. They're done." And good congratulations to the Seminoles for finishing strong. I know it's Duke, but hey, the way this season's been going, you'll take it. 56 points. Again, it's Duke. It's real hard to score 56 points against air. So the fact that you did it against a team, pretty good. Is Wilson, is he like going to be back next week? Did he come back in the game or
Norman Wilson's
any word on him?
He's done for the year.
Okay.
They said that a couple weeks back.
No, Ontario Wilson.
Oh, Ontario Wilson. I'm sorry. No, I haven't heard. And you can see how bad I need him because of what I talked about with the wide receivers.
Right, yeah.
He's the only guy that has any kind of decent experience.
Mm-hmm.
Keyshawn Helton doesn't really play that much on offense. He's kind of special teams.
Okay.
But, I mean, he may get shifted out of necessity.
Yeah, I think so. It sticks. You saw the last few weeks, Wilson was actually a bright spot on offense, but it stinks that he got hurt.
Yep.
But yeah, all in all, good job for the Seminoles, and hey, a win is a win. Take it any way you can.
Yeah, it was a good day. I'll just go ahead and say it again because I'm pretty proud of this. That's 21-0 against Duke in ACC play. I've never lost to them. I believe,
very
and I think I saw a stat where if within a conference against another foe, that's by far the most. There's some other ones like in the Mountain West that are like 12 or 14.
Okay.
But we're at 21.
Okay. Can they go to 30? Can they hit the 30s like Kentucky?
I really think so. I mean, like I said, some of it's been luck.
Right.
It's not even been as close as Florida Kentucky because y'all had like that Chris Dorian touchdown in the 90s, and
We
there
have
were like
plenty
three years where you're like, okay, why is Kentucky not covering that wide receiver with less than 2 minutes to go?
Yeah. Yep.
All this really weird garbage. I mean, like even that 14 in the 13-14 range, you're like, Florida's going to win 4 games and one of them going to be Kentucky. How is that happening?
Yeah, we had like I don't remember what year it was, but we had 3 overtimes against them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that you're gonna need some luck, but that was just weird. But 21 years is a long, or 21 straight times, you say, is a long time.
Yep, very true. So I mean, that's it. I'm very happy. That's a great way to end the season. I don't really care if we beat Wake Forest now or not, to be honest. We just got another win at home, and we'll talk about signing day later on this weekend probably. But that was a great way to punctuate the weekend.
Right. All right, so let's just keep reveling for you.
Well, this one makes you probably happy too, right, Miami?
Yeah, I do. It is. I take joy in the Miami getting waxed at home against North Carolina, 62-26.
There are so many adjectives we can use.
Let me just say this. You were spot on. Your analysis of this game was spot on, and I was way off. Because I said Miami wins because of their defense. I was way off. You nailed it. You said North Carolina was hot. Their rushing attack was going to be a factor, and man, they just went off on Miami.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call out. I certainly didn't see it going this badly for Miami, but Carter rushes 308 yards. Williams rushes for 236. That is the most by a duo in FBS history.
Yeah.
And then they rounded it out. So it ended up being 554. I'm looking this up because I don't want to get it wrong. 554 yards rushing for UNC.
6 rushing touchdowns. Goodness. That is a crazy stat.
So bad. And they threw for 224.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, by the way, Howell is their quarterback, by the way. Let's just not a pretty good quarterback.
They only threw 20 passes. I mean, when you're running that hard, you don't even need to throw that many.
Yeah, true.
But because of the rushing attack being so potent, they're popping off a first down every rush. They had the ball for 40 minutes. Miami only had it for 19.
That is so. I mean, because Derek King has been pretty good this year. A little bit up and down, but the defense has always been steady, minus the Clemson game. The defense has been that X factor for them. But for them to just, wow. I mean, I was watching that game. And I was like, is Miami playing? Are they even, trying? No, they're not. Is it Miami of Ohio that played? I was just very confused.
Forgot to put the parentheses in the name. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
so weird.
This is from Miami, just embarrassing. And you know what? This is not even an uncommon scenario where they start off really well, then they just completely start downsliding. I think they just started doing it later this year.
Yeah. You saw it last few games; they were getting closer and closer. But this is, you can't do this.
Nope.
I mean, North Carolina is good, but they're not 62 points on your home field good.
Yeah, good point.
But
good point.
Maybe they are.
I guess the one positive thing is Brevin Jordan continued to be really good for Miami. Yeah. He had 6 catches, 140 yards, and a TD. Other than that, I mean, you were annihilated, and they just kept coming, and you just couldn't stop them.
Yeah. I'm still just kind of in shock of this game. Crazy games within the state of Florida. Florida State throws up 56 points. Again, I know it's Duke, but still.
Right.
They dropped 50. That craziness in Gainesville, and now this game, what is going on?
Yeah.
What is going on this weekend? Crazy. Just when we think we know, we realize we know nothing.
Just the exclamation point on this year we needed.
Yeah, for real.
And
this was a summation of the
year, has to bother the Miami fan base that this was for an Orange Bowl bid. Now, I still think they still go to the Orange Bowl despite that performance. because UNC has that third loss. But honestly, if they took UNC in the Orange Bowl, I would not be surprised.
Right. This year, I mean, throw everything out the window this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to be surprised if who goes to what bowl. Like, it's just going to, yeah. Because even though you have the right to it or whatever, you throw in COVID, you throw in travel, you throw in all this stuff. I mean, yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
And it's also like, do you want to go to a bowl game? Because 3 ACC teams, 1, 2, 3, have already said no. Boston College is out. Pittsburgh is out. Georgia Tech is out. Tech's out too, Georgia. So that makes 4, I think.
Yeah.
That's a lot, and those are the middle tier, games that fill those other small stadiums. So the bigger ones, if you have something to play for and a paycheck to collect, basically, you'll go.
Right.
So, because it's a home game and they're trying to limit travel, you and I have been talking about it. Assuming Florida doesn't beat Alabama, then it's looking like a Gator Hurricanes Orange Bowl again.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
That'd be pretty cool.
But
anyway. I'm hoping it does. I hope it does happen. Don't know who's going to be playing for each team, but still.
Yeah, a lot of X factors there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be curious. Anyway, well, that wraps up that last week. I would normally say, Chris, this ends the regular season. However, this year we're going to have all of the title games, but then there's regular games going on.
Did FAU play Southern Miss?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that was the Thursday night game. I almost totally forgot. Sorry about that, Owl fans. My apologies. Yeah, and then again with the craziness, Southern Miss was like a 22-point underdog or something weird, and they went outright by 14. What is going on?
Oh man, FAU was doing so hot in the middle of the season, and the last 2 games just duds. They actually put up points. I'll give them credit, but letting Southern Miss score 45, come on.
Southern Miss entered this game at 2-7 and fired their head coach.
Yeah,
they have an interim guy, and they think they hired the new one already. What do these players have to play for, and where did this come from?
Yeah,
I was just blown away. And the Owls' performance the last 2 weeks cost them a chance at the title for the conference. So now they're out of that.
Right.
Yep.
So weird, man. This is so weird. Just when this year has been so crazy and nuts and cancellations and transfers and wild plays and whatever, and then a guy throws a shoe to lose a game. I mean, come on, like just when you think you've seen it all, it
just
weird stuff.
That's why we love it so much.
I love it. I hate that it was my team, but I love it. I love that the craziness.
So that actually does officially wrap it up. Before we move on to the previews for next week, though, Chris, I only got 2 movie quotes. I got Austin Powers, Who Throws a Shoe Seriously, and then I was way off from Dumb and Dumber. I didn't catch any more, though. Did I get them both?
I did. No, I referenced a Pink Floyd song. It wasn't a movie.
Okay.
So I might throw some more in there. But
nice.
Yeah, those are the ones that I was thinking ahead of time.
Okay. Keep me on my toes. I like it.
But no, it's good. It's good.
Yep. So yeah, what I was saying earlier, I jumped the gun a little bit, is that was the end of what would normally be the regular season. However, there's just regular games being played during title week.
Mm-hmm.
But only 2, and it's our 2 teams. How about that? Florida State travels to Wake Forest, plays a 12 noon game on the road, and then the Gators taking the trek to Atlanta, playing the Alabama Crimson Tide. So I will let you go first, my good sir. The Gators are a 17-point underdog. Bama, obviously the best team in the nation. What do you expect? What are your goals here going into this matchup with the Tide?
Don't get blown out. Finish the game. That might be it. Because, I mean, come on. Like, I've been thinking and racking my brain of how Florida can pull this game off. I mean, we saw LSU pull that game off last week, and we've seen stuff crazier stuff happened before. Kyle Pitts is coming back. Sean Davis should be coming back. But come on, it's Alabama. Like, I think Jalen Waddle might be coming back for them. I mean, okay, let's just throw out some scenarios here. Say Kyle Trask has a bounce back game. Kyle Pitts comes back. He's tough for them to match up. He draws 2 defenders. Trayvon Grimes, Kadarius Toney goes off. Kadarius Toney breaks some ankles. Somehow Malik Davis, he busted a long run. Okay, hit him with the wheel route. How are we going to stop their offense? There is no way. I see some ways that we can put up some points, right? I don't see how we're stopping their offense.
Okay.
I mean, Devontae Smith, legit Heisman contender. Mac Jones, I don't think he necessarily scares me, but I mean, good luck penetrating that O-line.
Mm-hmm.
Najee Harris is crazy good. Our biggest weakness on defense, I think, is our safeties. Devontae Smith is going to burn our safeties. That's even if they get the right coverage, which half the time they don't. Let's just assume that Donovan Sider finally figures out how to, stay back as a safety. You think he's going to cover Devontae Smith? No. You think Brad Stewart's going to cover Devontae? No. Say you put Kaiir Elam shadowing Devontae Smith. Well, they got other weapons too. Who's covering Najee Smith out of the back? Najee Harris out of the backfield? I don't know. So, can we get to Mac Jones? Maybe. I doubt it. I don't know if we can force any we can't force turnovers. Against LSU, who's I just don't see it, man. I just don't see any way that Florida comes out on top on this. I really just don't. I could see us putting up some points, maybe doing what some teams do and fighting for a half, but going 4 quarters against Alabama, you're going to have some craziness. We're going to have some fluke plays, some luck. And I just don't see it. The spread is, 17? I mean, I'm saying we lose by 21, like easy.
Okay.
I think Bama drops 50 on us. Like, we might put up, I say Bama drops 52, and we might put up 28.
That's really close to what I was thinking, actually.
Yeah. I really want to have hope. But I'm just like, there's just no way. Like, I just do not see a scenario where we win the game. I can see a couple scenarios where we keep it close and interesting.
Yeah.
But as long as the rules say that you have to, have a defense, as long as the rules say that Bama at some point will get the ball, we're not going to win that game. So I'm at 52-28, Bama.
So a couple of thoughts here. I know we've heard this before. This is arguably one of the 2 best teams Saban's probably ever had.
They're pretty good.
Their defense, they have been suspect a couple of times, but not very often.
They've had better defenses in the past. Let's just say that.
But it's certainly not anything you really have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the offense. It's entirely possible they have the best running back, the best wide receiver, and maybe the top 3 quarterback in the country.
Mm-hmm.
All on the same team. And that's just unfair. But it is what it is. So I agree with you. I give me a little less on Bama though. I'll go 45.
45.
20. Because I want to say we've seen this before, and I couldn't list years for you. Maybe you can help me out. There are times where like Bama looks untouchable, and then they go in the SEC title game and the playoff, and then they're in close games all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have full faith that they're like, hey, this is a 95 Nebraska type of team yet. But I've seen little to prove me wrong so far, except for the Ole Miss performance. That's really the only one that you can try and point to.
Right. I mean, the only you have to get a turnover. You have to. You're gonna have to get some lucky bounces, and you have to bank on Alabama not playing perfect. And I mean, we have to play our best game ever. They have to play one of their worst. I just don't see it. Nick Saban doesn't do that. Maybe they overlook us because we lost at home to LSU. Maybe. But I mean, come on. Like the ESPN says that they have an 89% chance of winning. I'm like, yeah, that's about on par.
Okay.
Like that makes sense. It's possible, but man, I just don't look at. I can't see how. And even like guys like McPherson, they're not even. That's not even a guarantee when he lines up now.
Bro, I hate to be harsh on kicker because I love kickers, but he's off my Groza list.
Yeah, he is. I agree.
I said one more miss and he's gone. I'm a man of my word. I don't lie.
Yeah.
He's
I know
gone.
it was a 51-yarder.
I get it, and he was close, but
still, you gotta make it. You gotta make it. So yeah, I mean, Bama big. I say we hang with them at first. Once we run out of our scripted plays, and they get like a 2-touchdown lead, I mean, it's not like Georgia we can come back.
Okay.
So I mean, I do not see how we stop them. I just don't. So Bama big.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but Bama big.
So we're in total agreement there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What was your score? Oh, you said 45 to
45. Well, I'll take 28. Okay. Let's see. Moving on to Florida State. Traveling up to Winston-Salem to play Wake Forest. A school of all of 5,000 students. Why are they in the Power 5? I need a real answer on this. I don't know. But, are they better than Florida State? Yes. Can I explain why they lost to Louisville so badly? No. I have no idea. They're looking pretty good, 4-3. Looking like you beat I thought you'd beat Louisville, have a decent year, go to a pretty good bowl. Now that's kind of in jeopardy for Wake Forest. They have two guys you got to watch out for. Sam Hartman is really good and has good experience. He actually was a quarterback 2 years ago. Played a lot, got beat out by Jamie Newman, who ended up transferring to Georgia, and is now back starting again. The guy you have to watch out for is the wide receiver Roberson, 795 yards receiving on the year, 5 touchdowns. So it's clear he's their main target. I don't really know how FSU is going to stop that. We haven't gotten pressure off the edge. Robinson's had moments where he's good on the edge, rushing, but hasn't been consistent. We have lost essentially all of the guys that began the year on the interior line. I think we have one guy left. Honestly, Chris, I've had to relearn so many names on defense. Please forgive me. We've basically gotten down to our second team in the entire roster. And I'm like, Durden Cooper started the year. One of them's gone, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which one. Martin Wilson's, of course, been out for a while and not coming back. You're like Emmett Rice, Nix. Those are some guys that have contributed here and there, but nothing consistent. Kando is the one guy that has kind of been doing, in the box of 7, he's kind of been moving around.
Okay.
But I guess the hope here would be that Travis J. and Nasruddin, who is clearly the best player on the defense, actually get some stops, pass breakups, maybe a pick would be nice. But I really don't trust it. I actually think Florida State has a lot of momentum going into this game. The problem is all of their success seems to be isolated this year. Because you're like, you played well against Notre Dame. You end up beating North Carolina the following week. Okay? You looked good goodish, as good as you can against Jacksonville State. And you look good against Duke. Only one of those teams was good, and then you laid an egg and gave up over 400 yards to a terrible Georgia Tech team and lost. You got killed by Louisville. You got killed by Pittsburgh. You fought hard, but still lost by multiple scores against NC State. So it's hard for us to chain it together.
All right.
And I just don't know that Wake Forest is going to look at this team and say, hey, just like Brandon said on the podcast this week, they've got 2 wide receivers, and that's it. They literally cannot throw the ball. So this was a tough one. And I really think there's a lot of things Forest they can do right, but I'm still going to take Wake Forest to win. I'll take it by a field goal. So maybe Wake 31-28.
31-28. Okay. Yeah, this is a real hard one to pick because, like you said, Florida State looked impressive against a lesser team, but they looked impressive. I think they have momentum going for them. I think you're onto something with that. And Wake Forest, although they are the better team, have lost 2 in a row now. Their defense giving up 59 and 45. I I agree, though. The FSU is depleted. They do have a thin roster, but I'm not really confident in Wake Forest right now. So I really don't know. I'm kind of going back and forth, but I'm going to go with Uncle Mo and Florida State to win by a point.
Okay.
I'm going to say 20. I'm going to also say 28-27.
I think we've disagreed on Florida State games before. It's very rare that I pick them to lose and you pick them to win. So this will be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it was due. I've said that 15 times already, but still, it's a win. It looked pretty good. But most importantly, I don't like the way Wake has been playing recently. So
that's fair.
I'm going to go Florida State.
Yep. I wonder if the travel affects the Noles and the weather, because it's going to be like low 40s. Is probably the high.
It's at 47 right now.
So these Florida boys aren't used to that. I mean, not everybody's from Florida, but they have not played in cold temperatures this year, and they rarely do. Mm-hmm. That's why I never liked those late games in the year you have to travel to Boston College.
Right.
Thanks. Because we've played there in November, and it's not fun.
Right.
So, okay. So opposite on that, but that's cool. We'll see how that one goes. That hard to believe, Chris. That is it. After those two games, we're waiting for games. Georgia Tech, Miami got canceled. FAU's done. FIU's done. UCF accepted a bowl bid at the Boca Raton Bowl. We're playing BYU. What a matchup there, huh?
Yeah.
We'll have a full preview of that probably Sunday. But yeah, man, take the over. I don't even know what it's going to be. Just take it. A lot of scoring there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, man. Well, what a crazy way to wind down the season. Just one game left for each team. Chris, any final thoughts on this week before we move on?
I'm ready to move past it. It's never going to go away, but I'm ready to move past it. And it stinks because you're like, oh, this was an awful loss. Oh, what's next? An awful loss. So, come on, bowl season. Hopefully. But still fun to talk about it, though.
Yeah. Speaking of bowls, if you're a Florida State fan hoping for a bowl game, don't hold your breath. There are some chances, but I can't imagine with as thin as we are, they're going to want to travel. And you see teams like left and right just saying, I just want the season to be done. Right. Which is not normally the attitude, but this year I can't imagine what they've been through with their protocols, so I can't blame them.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to be doing that.
But the Gators will have a very nice bowl, and so kind of jelly of that paycheck. I don't know how much fun the festivities will be for the games. We'll have to wait and see
I don't
what
think
they
there's
end up doing.
From what I'm hearing, there's not going to be any of the pomp and all that stuff before the games.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Yep. All right. Well, Chris, remind the fans how they can reach out to us if they have any questions, comments, concerns.
FloridaFocusPodcast.com.
Yes. And be sure, I know we're heading up on Christmas and everything's getting really tight at the end of the year, but if you have any means to give, please go to our Twitter account. We have a pinned tweet where you can give through an Amazon wish list to those in need in the Central Florida area. Diapers are still a big need for people being furloughed from the amusement parks, and the need continues to grow despite the vaccines and everything going out there, which is obviously good news. But the need's still there, and even after the pandemic's over, that won't go away. So, great gift you can give someone else for Christmas instead of the person on the bottom of your list. How about that?
Yeah. Good idea.
Yep. All right. Well, Chris, thank you as always. And I know this wasn't the best week, but I appreciate that we always say at the top of every episode we put aside our differences. I feel like you do that really well, so I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you.
It doesn't go unnoticed. But any final thoughts before we sign off?
I think that is it, man.
All right. Well, this is Brandon saying go Noles.
Chris, go Gators.